Mayo from JCT for Education for you. And today we have a very special guest. She is connecting all the way from Panama. And she's a dear friend of ours. And remember, this live video will be housed on my IGTV. And also we're putting these videos up on our Instagram account and YouTube. And here she is. Ta 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 ta. Is in today. To all of you that just signed in. Hola, buenas tardes. Pana Gringa.
Hello.
How are you doing, my friend?
Am I frozen on your end? Because I appear to be frozen on mine.
Okay, I just saw who here. Richard Dillon, just say hi, and Maria Cristina, Wanda, Tassell girl. I mean, you're a rock star, Jennifer.
Am I frozen on your end? Because it looks like I'm frozen on mine.
You look perfect. You don't look frozen. Now I see some plants at home. Now I see you. So
okay, I'm gonna leave and rejoin because on my side it's frozen.
Okay, we see you perfect. I can ask people here, everyone. You see Pana Gringa, you see Jennifer well. I see her well. Can you? Christian, what do you think? How do you see her image? Hi, Richard.
I'm going to join again. Join again.
Go ahead. So Pana Gringa, our live for today, she just left, but she's back. Thank you, Tassell girl. We see you both. We are waiting for Pana Gringa to join in. And ta-ta-ta-tan. Jorge, hola. Hola, Cristian. Ana G, hola. ¿Cómo están todos? Hola, Jennifer.
Hello.
Better for you. Hola, Pablo, Ana. Boy, we have a lot of people joining us today. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have Jennifer Tassell from the International School of Panama. ¿Cómo estás hoy? How is everything in Panama?
Good. Can you see me right now?
We see you really well.
Weird. Really on well. My side, I just see you, but that's okay. I don't need to look at my face. I've been seeing myself all day on.
Well, we're gonna Jorge, do you see Jennifer? Let's ask Christian. Pablo, do you see Jennifer? I see her. Okay, Jorge say yes, and don't worry, this video will be recorded. And Christian say, I can see you perfectly, and past college, hola. So let's dig in. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so that beautiful backyard, is that your house?
Yes, I am currently quarantined in Los Rios in Ancon in Panama City, Panama. Okay. I'm in my backyard because I have an 8-year-old daughter that likes to Zoom bomb, or she likes to get in behind in every shot whenever I'm in meetings. So I figured this was the safest place to be.
Jennifer, just for us that I've been to Panama many times, but I don't know the geography really well. Are you closer to the downtown? Are you by the Escruza, the Miraflores? Which area are you in?
I'm about like 5 minutes, if that, from the canal, from Miraflores. Okay. Probably about 5-10 minutes from the city. I'm in what they call now they call it the reverted area, and it was the old part of the canal zone, the former canal zone, which was an area of that was surrounding the Panama Canal, in which a lot of expat Zonians used to inhabit. So it's now reverted. And yeah.
Is that very close to Ciudad del Saber? City of
Knowledge? It's right next to Ciudad del Saber.
So I know where you are right now. So Jenny, this is a conversation among peers. You have so much energy. For those of you that don't know Jennifer Tassell, actually she has the coolest Instagram handle account, and it's called Pana Gringa. Why did you decide to call yourself Pana Gringa?
Well, I was born and raised in Panama, believe it or not, and my parents. I'm actually third generation from Panama, but first generation born. My grandparents worked one is a lawyer for the canal zone and one worked for the canal. and my dad was a pilot for the Panama Canal, so he used to take the ships through, and my mom was a nurse for the Army hospital. So I grew up in an American household, but born and raised in Panama. So I think I identify more with the Pana side than the Gringa, because I've spent most of my life here, and this is where I consider home. But the Gringa is still in there.
Thank you for letting us know. And Juancho Recinos, hola Juancho, Eli, we have Tita Bultron, Elon, Evie, hola Evie. We have a lot of people that just joined us. Jennifer, when I see you, I see this aura. Your energy is absolutely wonderful, so cool. Where did you go to high school in Panama?
Well, I went to the Department of Defense schools when the military was here in Panama. And so it was through up into high school until the end of my 10th grade year. And that is when the canal turned over to Panama, when the U.S. turned over the canal and gave it to Panama. And so then all of the Department of Defense schools closed. So I went to a school that was opening as a bridge to serve the population that was used to that American style of education, and that was Balboa Academy. And so I went to Balboa Academy for my last 2 years of high school, the first 2 years that they were open, and then left Panama for college.
Okay. So who was your high school counselor at Balboa?
Gloria Ducre.
Hey, Gloria. If you're watching, if you'll be watching, un abrazo, un saludo, Gloria, para ti y toda tu familia en Panama. We love Gloria. When I was back at Lynn University, she came, she visited, she sent a relative to Lynn University. I love Balboa. Absolutely a beautiful school. Jennifer, so when you were with Gloria, you did your college search, and something really cool. One of those hidden places in the state of Florida. I love the school. When I found out that you graduated from Flagler College, I was like, yes, this is awesome. What brought you from Panama all the way to San Agustin, Florida, near Jacksonville?
Yeah, well, the college application process used to be so much more simple and not as complicated. And I think it's because a lot of it is we didn't have as much information available to us as we do now. And when I was applying to colleges, I remember just going into Gloria's office one day and I had only gone to see one campus, and that was with my mom over the summer, and we had visited Northeastern because we used to go to Maine every summer to the small town called Castine, Maine, which is where Maine Maritime Academy was, because that's where my dad studied. And so we used to go there during the summer. And so one summer we drove down to Boston and saw Northeastern, and I loved it. And I had read somewhere that pharmacists make a lot of money and they always have a job, and it was the best field to go into at that time. So I decided at that moment that I wanted to go to the School of Pharmacy. Wow. I applied and I got accepted. And then I started digging a little deeper, and I realized I don't even really enjoy science. I like being around people, and I really don't like cold weather. I'd never seen snow at that point, and I was looking at the weather report that year, and I was like, no, this isn't for me. So I had a cousin who's like my prima hermana. She's like my sister. She was transferring from a university in Texas to Flagler because she was moving there with her husband, and I had never heard of it. And she sent me a picture of the campus, and I was in awe. I was like, that's where I want to be. And so I started researching, and I realized, wow, this is actually a really good fit for me. It had small class sizes, and it was near the water, and I loved the water. And it was in Florida, and it's where my parents had always encouraged me to apply to schools in Florida because it was closer, and I had sisters and you never want to listen to your parents because you think that they don't know you. Turns out they did. So I ended up going to Flagler, and I was so happy. It was such an amazing undergraduate experience. I had small class sizes. I knew my professors, and I still stay in touch with a couple of professors now, almost 20 years later. So
That's
It's
really
good.
good. I absolutely, I
Mm,
remember I visited there for many private colleges and university meetings when admission
mm,
directors were meeting, and that was one of my favorite visits. Going to San Agustin, Florida. Best
mm.
ice cream in the state of Florida is from that little town.
Ah,
So much culture, so much. I went
yeah,
to a small school, liberal arts in Iowa, and of course, our weather was horrible. The snow and so forth, but it has that feeling of the true liberal arts. So absolutely a good choice. When I
it
saw that
did.
on your bio, I was super happy because it's a school that we actually recommend to a lot of our students, and very happy to hear that you went there. Wanna take a pause to say hi to Ayelen Garcia. Ayelen, ¿cómo estás? How is UF? And she is another
And
amazing
Teresa.
student. Maria Teresa, we have Lola Green,
Mm.
she's an outstanding photographer. We have Alberto from Navarra, la Universidad de Navarra. We have
Hola, Alberto.
Welton, Patrick, B, Taro. I mean, you have a lot of people following the conversation, and this
Yes.
conversation will be housed on our IGTV, so you can watch it, and also on our YouTube channel, JCT for Education for You. Jennifer,
Hello.
I
I just wanted to say hello to Alberto. We just did our senior checkouts today, and I think we have something like 4 or 5 ISP students heading your way. So we're sending you a
wow,
few this year.
we're having Alberto updates from Spain and Navarra. Okay, the
Mhm.
video just paused. Okay, we're back. So I
Yeah.
was actually very intrigued. So at Flagler, you graduated double major sociology and psychology, correct?
hmm hmm
And did you do some research during your time at Flagler as a student?
I wasn't the strongest student in high school, and really, I don't think I really started to enjoy learning until probably my third year in college. And I
Okay.
really started to enjoy it, I think, because I finally found something that I really loved. I loved sociology. I loved my psychology classes, but I really loved my social science classes. And then I started to take on internships in probably my second year of college. Um, some I really didn't love because I thought I was going to go into social work, and one was Department of Juvenile Justice, which I really not for me. And I had a couple other internships, and then one that ended up really where I discovered my passion was through Big Brothers Big Sisters. And oops, are you frozen? Am I frozen? Because I see you frozen. Can you hear me?
Well, hola,
Okay,
I hear you well.
I think,
Go ahead.
okay, perfect. Um, and after I graduated, I ended up going and working for Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to make all the matches between college students and and elementary age students that needed mentors. And through that program, I worked in, I believe, 5 different elementary schools. And the liaisons for each school was the school counselor. And
Okay.
so that's kind of when it's not until I think till you finish college and you start looking back and reflecting on what really brings you joy and what you really, gets you excited. And I
Mm-hmm.
started realizing that being in a school was something that I really looked forward to every day, but I didn't
Okay.
want to teach. But
Okay.
I liked working with people. So
Okay.
that kind of led me into realizing that that's kind of what I wanted to pursue.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And I was thinking, and I really mean it. If I had the opportunity to have a high school counselor, it would be a person like you, because you have so much
Ah,
energy. You're authentic. You say it as it is. You push your students to that layer that to the maximum discipline. I mean, you're amazing, and we will walk people through the
ah,
conversation. But Megan from Revolution Prep just joined, and our colleagues are saying, "Don't worry, we hear you really well." Ana Maria Espinosa
okay.
just joined us. Anna is at Northeastern right now, and yes, Jorge, she's terrific. But just wait to see
thanks,
this.
Jorge.
So you went from Flagler, you go back to Panama, and then you say, okay, this is cool.
No,
cool.
actually, I didn't. I stayed in St. Augustine, and then I worked for Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Okay.
I actually didn't go back to Panama until after grad school.
Okay. So you went to NOAA Southeastern University right here in Fort Lauderdale, and you got your master's?
In school guidance and counseling, but actually I went to a satellite campus. I went to Nova, but I went to a satellite campus in Jacksonville because it just worked for where I was working. But yeah.
Okay. And they have campus extensions all over the state of Florida, so they're doing really well expanding. And then finally, you say, this is what I want to do. You go back to Panama then and start working, or what happened after NOAA?
Yeah, actually, when I moved back in December of 2009 back to Panama, and I had been communicating with Gloria from Balboa Academy for as soon as I had started my master's program, and I knew what I wanted to do. I was pretty focused. This was perfect for me, and so when I finished, she said, they were looking for a new counselor around then. She had really only been the only counselor. And so she said, well, just come. When you come, we'll talk and we'll figure it out. And so when I got to Panama, I actually had received another job offer from another school in Panama. But I wanted to work at Balboa because that was somewhere that I had laid roots and where I'd felt comfortable being at Balboa Academy. And so I started there in January and I moved back in December. So I really had like 2 weeks and then walked into a job. I started kind of subbing and then part-time counseling there. And then the following school year, I started as a full-time, mainly just with social, emotional counseling.
Okay. That's wonderful. And by the way, Ed Bustos is saying, hola from Rollins. Hi, Capado. Hola, Susie 35. We have Tassell girl here saying, just like your dad. So I guess
that's my sister.
That sister, Tassell girl, your sister is one. Where is your sister right now? Where does she live?
She's in the causeway of in Amador in Panama. All my family's here.
Okay, Tassell girl. Jennifer is one of our favorite. Jennifer, I've been in the U.S. for 30 years as an international student, and when I go to Colombia, sometimes they say, "Where are you from?" When I'm here, they say, "Where are you from?" So I'm like, I'm Colombian, I'm American. So when you were at Flagler, for those that are international students watching, or even Americans, how do you feel from Panama, American citizen, third generation American in Panama, coming to the US? How was that feeling?
It was surreal. I thought it would be a lot easier than it was because I had grown up in somewhat of a US bubble when the Canal Zone had still existed. And so I thought it would be a pretty easy transition. So it's helpful because I empathize a lot with my students. The school I work at is highly international and filled with third culture kids. So I really identify as a third culture kid in that my parents' culture is different than the culture that I grew up in. So when I moved to the States and people would assume that I was American, and then when I told them I was from Panama, of course, then I would get the response, being in Florida, you mean Panama City, Florida? I'm like, no, I'm from Panama, the Republic of Panama. And so then they would give me this kind of like cross look, like, what do you mean you're from Panama? You don't look like you're from Panama. And I was like, well, and then I'd have to go and explain. So it's kind of this weird in between because I get the same look when I tell people from Panama that I'm from Panama. Yes. No, you're not quite. So I'm a little bit too gringa to be Panamanian, but too Panamanian, I feel, to be gringa. So it's this kind of in between. And then the community I grew up in doesn't really exist anymore. So but I wouldn't want it any other way. It gives me a very unique perspective, I think, to help all of our students adjust to these changes. And it was weirdly, I had moved to the States, and within 2 weeks of moving to the States, 9/11 happened. So it was a very interesting, scary transition of my first time leaving Panama and moving to the U.S. and then dealing with that traumatic experience for for everyone. So you know, it was. I'm glad that I studied there. I think I had a great experience, but it was definitely a challenge.
Imagine me from Colombia going to New York City for a year, ESL, English as a second language, and then I decided to go to Iowa, explaining to my classmates from the Midwest where Colombia, Medellin, Colombia, and of course the stereotyping will kick in. And I was talking
I
about
can imagine.
flowers, coffee, mountains, and they always wanted to talk about different subjects. So I understand, but that's what I say that I would, if I were to go to high school, I wish I had high school counselor like you because you have so much experience. Your third culture, I'm sure that those kids at International School of Panama, they're so fortunate because you have seen it all. So when you're doing counseling, emotional counseling, you can relate to them, and that what makes you so special. So then you got UCLA certificate in counseling. You're
Yeah.
working at Balboa Academy, and then a few years ago, I don't remember, you joined as a volunteer of International ACAC. How many
Oh,
years you've been a volunteer for the committee?
I'm part of the advocacy and outreach committee,
Hmm.
and I'm coming on my third year, so I'm about to roll off the committee this summer, sadly.
Oh,
But yeah, it's truly one of the most unique, welcoming associations that I feel so blessed to be a part of. I was actually talking, we have two new counselors coming next year who are new to international counseling. And I was trying to explain to them about IAC, International ACAC. And there's really no place like it where it's such a mutual, everyone benefits from the relationship, and they're so kind and welcoming. And that has been really a game changer in me being able to, I think, maximize my potential and network as much as possible and meet such incredible people. It is such a great association. I'm really
and
grateful to be a part of it.
we have seen your maturity going from here to,
Mhm.
I mean, 180%, 1,000%. And for those of you watching, imagine International ACAC, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny, this is the largest world education that houses what Jenny and I we do: international education,
Mhm.
counseling, independent counseling. It brings universities from around the world, organizations like Duolingo,
Mhm.
like TOEFL, like SAT and ACT, and we're a family. We're composed of almost 3,000 or 3,500 members from over
Mhm.
120 countries. But what is so special about Jenny is that a couple years ago, in 2018, the organization, they give three major awards. And guess what? Jenny Tassell, International School of Panama, Pana Gringa, she won the Rising Star Award. So congratulations, Jenny. You have done an extraordinary job.
Ah,
And I
you're
will tell
making
you
me
guys,
blush.
no, I will tell you why she won the award. Because the energy that you see there is what she puts with her students. And also, as a volunteer member, she's a full-time mommy. She's actually cooking meals for her daughter. She's working hard for the students. And on top of that, she volunteered. And on top of that, with her good friend and colleague, they put a conference together 2 years ago for at FSU, a City of Knowledge, with Balboa and all the schools in Panama. They did an amazing regional institute. So on top of all your duties, you created a regional conference where you had students from all over
Yeah,
the area, and you have counselors. So congratulations on that big achievement, and I can't wait to see the
thank you.
next
And
award coming up.
and the person though, I actually got the award with another counselor, Christine Grover, who
Hmm.
is also equally as a game changer. And we co-hosted the regional together, and she's I call her my work wife because she's the yin to my yang. She's super organized and on top of everything. And we balance each other out really well. So she works at another school here in Panama.
So,
Yeah.
Christy, if you're watching or you'll be watching, congratulations to you. You guys you put an amazing program for all of us, and
Thank you.
thank you
And
to the facilities at FSU. They did a great job down there.
they did. And Jolene Bolejo as well. Yeah.
Angeline, absolutely.
Yes.
How is your hobby, paddle boarding, standing paddle boarding? Now with social
Yeah.
distances, are you allowed or you have to stay home?
No, I haven't. I haven't stepped foot in the ocean in about, I would say, about 70 days that
Oof.
we've been in
That hurts.
quarantine. So it's been, Jorge, I love your emojis. It has been quite disappointing. I mean, understandable that Panama has reacted in a very strong way towards quarantines, which I'm grateful for. But it's also, it's really hard to not be able to have those outlets really that bring balance. And so, no, I haven't. But stand-up paddleboarding is a huge passion of mine. It's one of the greatest sports because it can be an individual sport. You can really do it whenever you want. And I'm blessed to be on an isthmus where there is water everywhere, and so I get to paddle in the Panama Canal. Usually, I paddle on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday,
Okay.
with a great community. So it's if you're ever in Panama, come down. I'll take
I
you. I'll
want
take
to.
you.
Jenny, how difficult it is. I never done it. I see people going like, "Oh, there is nothing." It looks very easy, but it probably is very hard.
Yeah, I think it's pretty easy when you start. It just depends on what kind of board you have. If you have a very narrow board and you're just beginning, that can be challenging. But if you're in
Okay.
like a calm area and you have a wider kind of all around board, um, you can it's pretty easy to pick up. And then as you get better, you go to smaller boards. And a quick shout out
Okay.
to Stand Up Panama. They're a great place to paddle out of. And hello,
What about
Darwin.
sharks? Have you seen sharks from your paddleboard?
Once, only once in about I think it's been about 5 or 6 years since I've been paddling. And
Okay.
it was just small sharks, and I actually paddled closer to them because I wanted to get a better look,
Uh,
while my friends paddled the other way.
so I just saw one of our students' story on Instagram. He just bought the new paddleboarding. I guess it's not paddleboarding. It's an electronic like turbo paddle or boarding. Have you seen them? That you just plug in, they're electrical and they just go
Oh, they have
crazy.
like a motor on it?
Yeah, it's crazy. I've seen it,
Ah.
and they actually manage that like a remote control, like a TV control from here. And I'm like, wow, I will send you, I will send you that. So, uh, Jenny, let's dip into Panama.
Yes,
Let's get some updates from Panama. We've been getting a lot of updates. Beatrice Blecher yesterday from Switzerland, she told us that Switzerland is open and the students are back in school. We were like, my jaw dropped because we're still here at
yeah.
home. So tell us, how is Panama? What have you been hearing about? When is your school back and international planes back? Things like that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm not surprised that Switzerland is back in because in Switzerland, the culture is so different. And I think they're very good at following rules. Actually, a year ago today, I just got a reminder. I was in Switzerland at the La Roche-Guyon fly-in, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It
It
was
was.
outstanding. Anyways,
Thank you,
Panama,
Bea. Thank you.
yeah, they did such a great job. Um, Panama's been reacting very strongly to COVID, and we have been in strict quarantine since I think it's like the first week in March when all of this
Yes.
started cracking down. We've been doing online learning, so I've been working from home, and we have not been able to leave our houses. The only people that can leave their houses is with if they have like a um, salvoconducto where they have a business and they're allowed to leave. But they've been changing the protocols. But lately, it's if you're male, you can leave on certain days, depending on what the last number of your cedula is, which is your
Yes.
identification card. So if you have a 2, you can leave for a 2-hour period between 1:30 and 3:30.
Okay.
And then women can go Monday, Wednesday, Friday during our hour. And so
Okay.
that's been that's been challenging to say the least. But they
Okay.
just opened up a couple days ago, and now we're able to exercise within
Okay.
1 kilometer of our house
Oh, nice.
with a child, one child. You're only allowed to bring one.
Okay.
Um, so it's strict. They closed down the city. They've closed all the airports, no international flights in or out. It's you can't go to another province in Panama if you want. It's very, very strict.
I just heard yesterday that Copa went bankruptcy.
That Copa what? I'm sorry?
Jennifer? Hola.
Sorry, it's
Probably it's going a
you're
wave of
hesitating.
Wi-Fi.
I think it's my
I
connection. Can you
I
hear me
hear you.
okay?
We hear you well now. Yes, we hear you okay.
Okay, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah, Copa is a huge airline, such a great airline, and it's owned by Panamanians. And so I know that there has been a lot of layoffs in Panama from Copa, that they have been struggling because they haven't been able to fly. So I don't know the specifics on it, but I can imagine that they're struggling significantly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I hear that both Avianca and Copa, they may be acquired by Continental or United. I think it's United. So we'll stay tuned. And I know
United, probably.
United. So I know that will recover. And what about the ships? I mean, all the cargo that goes through the Panama Canal. You've seen movement going back and forth. And how are you guys? How is the government protecting you guys from all these boats, those big cargo ships going through?
Well, I don't think that the number has decreased significantly in the amount of ships going through. But I know like our pilots and the same amount of hours that they were working before. But I know that they are being a lot more protective. So what I've seen from my friends that are pilots is that they're usually wearing full protective gear when they're going up, when they're on the bridge of the ships. And there's strict protocols of who's coming off. And so I don't know too much specifics on the protocols. I haven't been following that as much. But the shipping is continuing and has an apartment that's on the end of the causeway, and so they're still seeing about the same amount of ships coming through. But I think they're just putting much stricter protocols.
And I agree with your sister. Shipping never stops, and that's why we have supplies in our supermarkets and so forth, because it's coming from all over the world. So thank you, Panama. Let's move into your students. How are your students doing with social distancing component? What are the biggest challenges for you as a high school counselor, negotiating with teachers, students? Tell us a little bit about it. When the connection gets to Panama. We are losing Jennifer. Maybe it's me. People, is it Jennifer connection or is mine? Right now it's frozen. Hola, Jennifer. Hola. Can you hear me? Jennifer? Oh, connection is a little bit off right now. Let's wait. Maybe, can people tell me if it's from Jennifer or is it from me?
Can you see me?
Okay, I hear you well now. I hear you well.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. I think my data just went down for a little bit. Okay, so you were asking about students, how they're handling the social distancing.
Yeah, and how is your role right now negotiating with faculty, with teachers, with the students? Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, well, I mean, it's been a challenge, as you can imagine. Teenagers, they're very social, and especially our seniors, they're struggling a lot and losing a lot of those rites of passages. We're having our graduation next weekend online, so that's been an adjustment for our students, but it's the best thing, really, I mean, because there's no light at the end of the tunnel on when the Ministerio de Educación will lift the ability for people to be back on campuses. So We're going to have a great ceremony online for our students at ISP, and they've been planning to make it as special as possible. We do weekly check-ins with our students from 9 through 12, and we kind of gauge where they're at. We ask them to give themselves a number of where they're at, like emotionally, from 1 being the best and 10 being the worst. And it changes week by week. But I would say on average, they're averaging between a 5 and a 7. So, I mean, no one I don't think is great,
Okay.
but I think that they're doing the best they can. And you know, when you look on people's stories in other countries, you see, like in the U.S., that there are a lot of people that are still going out and doing things, and you see people on the beach, and you see people, you know, interacting, and that can be pretty discouraging when you realize that you can't go anywhere. And so I think social media really plays a part in actually kind of making you feel worse, especially if you have friends that are all over the world and you see that you're stuck in one place. But, you know, I think that it's been a good exercise on being grateful and, you know, taking a moment to reflect back on all the blessings that they do have. And we've seen a lot of students also really grow from this experience, and that I've done social service projects and helped feed the frontline workers, and, you know, make partnerships with restaurants to feed the doctors and nurses on the front lines. So, you know, I think they're dealing the best they can. Probably
Okay.
how most teenagers are reacting to this.
Jennifer, as a high school counselor, right now we're dealing with summer programs, online summer programs, and a lot of students, and they've been coming very slow with those summer programs, making that decision. There are tons of summer
Yeah.
programs right now, but I have seen fatigue. The kids are fatigued. The teachers are fatigued.
Yeah.
Everybody's tired. I just got a phone call today from my mom and say, you know what? I don't think she's gonna be doing a summer program online. She's really tired. And this is when something that you just did, the Brown certification in mindfulness. Can you tell us a little bit, for those high school counselors that are watching, for our university colleagues, how will this mindfulness a seminar will help counselors and university people to encourage students to do something this summer?
Well, the mindfulness program that we did with Brown was online, and it was initiated actually by some colleagues at my school, and then we realized that there was enough interest. So probably about, I think, 15 teachers and other educators in my school, we did it together, which was really nice. It was once a week where we'd log on together. And it started off, I think, as an 8-week program, and then you can add on a section which is specifically for educators. So the first part was really just learning mindfulness for yourself, not to really teach or help others, but just for yourself. And it's tough, right? It's tough to quiet your mind and really like give yourself time in the day to be still and to be able to focus on you know, one thing at a time, and not, you know, have the what do you call it, the hamster wheel in your head going with everything you have to do. But I think that the quarantine has kind of forced us to realize that that's actually needed, the time to disconnect and to be alone with your thoughts. And mindfulness can really be, you know, we did different strategies of like full body scans and longer meditations, which that didn't really vibe so much with me, because I have a little bit of attention issues. I have a little bit of ADD. And so being still and quiet for a long period of time was really hard for me. And unfortunately, right around the time where I was doing my mindfulness classes, my father was really sick and he ended up passing away. So that was like very hard. Yeah, that was really hard to, when you're going through any sort of traumatic experience, to do the mindfulness program may not be the best for you. So that's not, you know, ideal when you're doing mindfulness. But it taught me a lot about being okay to be still. And mindfulness can look very different depending on the person. So for me, it was paddling is a form of mindfulness for me, because I can still move and be active, but my mind is quiet and I'm able to really be quiet with my thoughts and focus on what I want to think about. And so we've started incorporating mindfulness practices in the school with social emotional learning, and we're probably going to find that we're going to be doing a lot more of that next year when we go back next year.
Okay.
But it's definitely needed, especially now. And the fatigue that you were talking about with summer programs, and it's kind of like a burnout we're seeing with students. They're tired of being on screens.
Yeah.
Even I'm finding that students in the beginning of this quarantine, they were really looking for the Zoom parties and getting to be with their friends online after classes. And now a lot of them aren't even wanting to do that because they just want to be away from their screen.
Yes.
And we've also heard a lot of students report, and not just from ISP, but from other places, that the teachers were giving a lot of work. It was a lot more than they were doing before. And
Yes,
I think
heard that.
I think everyone's reporting that, even as professionals, because there's this before we were at school and we could leave school behind and choose what we brought home. But now our work and our school, it's all in one place. And so it's really hard to put these boundaries between work and home. And I think the same thing is the students are finding that too. So I haven't had as many students looking for summer programs lately for the same reasons. I think they're finding that they need a break.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. That's very helpful. And today I was attending the IE Global Counselors Program, and they talk about culinary programs, bingo programs, mindfulness programs, something different that can put their brains in a different spectrum. How are the admission decisions coming up with the students and finances? 70 days ago, the students and families, they had their family income. Have you seen changes on that from your students, from your admins?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's not many people that can't be untouched by what's going on right now.
Yes.
Everyone is taking a hit, and so we have a lot in our school. We have a lot of international families, and a lot of them are business owners, and so everyone's going to be impacted. Luckily, our enrollment for ISP so far is pretty good, so we're just waiting for us to have a better understanding of what enrollment's going to be next year. But there's a lot of schools that I've been speaking with around Panama that have predicted a 15%, sometimes 20% or more decrease in their enrollment.
Wow.
Because we're in private institutions, and what families have been able to afford before, they may not be able to afford now. And we're seeing too with our families that we're going to matriculate outside of Panama for university, which most of our families do. I would say probably 90, maybe 95% of our families, our students do leave Panama to study.
Yes.
And this year we just finished our senior checkouts, so we have a better understanding of where they're all going. We're finding that a lot of our students that were planning on leaving, some of them have decided to stay. But we're very lucky in Panama that we have some great English speaking options. So we have FSU in Louisville, and today I talked with 3 seniors who were planning on leaving that are choosing to stay to go to FSU, and then others who are either going to defer first semester or they're going to stay and do online, depending on how their university has communicated with them. So, and then I think a lot of them too are in this in between because they haven't heard from their universities of what the plan is. So it's a lot of unknown, I think, at this point. But some is for economic reasons. Some are for their families just don't want them to be that far away. Right now, they want a little bit more certainty before they send their kids away. But yeah, I think it's universal, probably
Yes. And we get a lot of phone calls, and you do get a lot of phone calls from parents. Universities are trying to put plans together right now. They have plan A, plan B, plan C. We have Renee Loaiza from Lynn University coming on Thursday. She's gonna talk a little
Oh,
bit
she's the
more.
best.
Renee is gonna tell us a little bit more. We found through Ed Bustos, they have campus tours. We found out last week with Ed. We found out from Diego, Jorge, I'm sorry, Brandeis contingency plans, BU, Babson. I mean, we've been bringing universities to tell us the latest updates. So stay tuned on
Yeah.
that one. I'm very conscious about time because people, they need to go back and talking about doing more things. But we got a couple questions more. What has been your biggest challenge during this quarantine?
Oh, I think doing the online education with my daughter has been really challenging while working full time. She has, some attention difficulties as well. And so, having to moderate her learning. I'm lucky to work at a great school where her teachers have been doing so much to help her out. So she's been getting a lot of support, which I'm very grateful, and a lot of synchronistic learning. So she's had a lot of face-to-face. But, I was never meant to be an elementary anything. My heart is in high school. I love working with high school students. So it's difficult to teach an elementary age and, help her make sure she's getting her things done. I think that's been because you never feel like you're doing enough. But I think we kind of have to let go of the idea of how we think it should be and just, give ourselves a little bit of grace and do the best we can, which I've been trying to do. But that's been, that's been hard and to entertain her as well.
Particularly for moms and even dads that are doing the hard work of parenting from home while working full time, while we are all in survival mode and everything. Congratulations to you, Jenny, to all the moms, the parents that are teaching. They are fatigued as well. And if I had a big award to you, I will give it to you. But my condolences to you and your family for the passing of your dad. I know how much he meant to you and your family, and a hero, an American hero. So I'm very sorry, but I have a surprise for you, Jenny. So for those of you watching, Jenny, she, besides being a volunteer, she always puts an annual dodgeball team together. And I happen to be member of her dodgeball team. And here we have it. I have the mask and I have the cape. 1 second. So I wanted to put some laughter to you. 1 second, we're going live. So here it is, everyone. We are the team of the Incredibles, and we hope this year we get to win the virtual dodgeball competition. What do you think, Jennifer?
I think well, it'll probably be the first year we win.
Okay, so Jenny, thank you so much for your time.
Can I just add something? I also wanted to thank you, Wonka. He's been, and just for everyone watching, he's been an incredible mentor for me, and I know he's been a mentor for so many other counselors, and he works so closely with admission reps from around the world. You really are a legend, and I feel very grateful to not only have traveled with you many times, doing fly-ins and with international ACAC conferences. I think we've been probably all over the world together. Yes. And on the IE Counselor Advocacy Board, we'll see each other in Spain, hopefully someday soon. And also being able to go to your hometown, that was so cool. And visiting so great. You're doing so much, and thank you so much for everything that you do to help all of us.
No, thank you so much, Jenny. I love you. You are amazing. Every time I see you, you bring me a smile, and that's what we need now, to be happy, to laugh. And one final thought, we say, hasta pronto.
Yes. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. And here we have Jennifer Tassell, International School of Panama. For you, JCT for Education. Remember, this video will be housed on IGTV and also on YouTube. Mi casa es tu casa, Jenny.